The year is 2024. The setting, the legendary La Scala in Milan, Italy. Inside, the air is thick with anticipation. 50 of the world's most discerning judges sit in judgment, their faces a gallery of impassive masks. This is the pinnacle of opera auditions, a place where dreams are either born or brutally crushed. On stage, under the intense glare of the lights, stands 19-year-old Liza Mendoza from Cebu, Philippines. Her heart pounds a frantic rhythm against her ribs, but her posture is poised. This is the moment she has prayed for, worked for, and sacrificed everything for. The accompanist begins, and Liza opens her mouth to sing. The first few notes of a fiendishly difficult aria float into the vast hall, pure and clear. But before she can reach the first crescendo, a voice, sharp and dismissive, slices through the music. Stop. It's Maestro Giovanni Rossi, a living legend in the opera world, a man whose opinion can make or break a career in an instant. He's 65, with a mane of white hair and eyes that have seen and heard it all. He points a finger at Liza, his expression laced with contempt. That Filipino voice is off-key. Go back to karaoke bars where you belong. Silence, a heavy, suffocating silence descends upon the hall. Then, a ripple of snickers. A few judges shift uncomfortably, but most just watch, their faces unreadable. For Liza, the world stops spinning. The maestro's words, amplified by the perfect acoustics of La Scala, hit her like a physical blow. The laughter that follows is like salt in the wound. She freezes, the music dying on her lips. Her vision blurs as hot, stinging tears well up in her eyes, threatening to spill down her cheeks. Humiliation, hot and sharp, washes over her. In that single, brutal moment, her dream, so vibrant just seconds before, shatters into a million tiny pieces. This wasn't just criticism. It was a dismissal of her identity, her country, her entire journey. To understand the depth of this wound, we have to go back to a small church in Cebu, where Liza's journey began. From the age of 8, she was the star soloist in the church choir. Her voice, a gift that seemed to come directly from heaven, was a source of wonder in her community. They said she had perfect pitch from birth, able to identify any note, any harmony, with uncanny accuracy. While other kids played, Liza sang. The church was her first stage, the congregation her first adoring audience. Her family, humble but incredibly supportive, knew their daughter was special. Her world expanded beyond the church walls thanks to a small, unexpected moment of viral fame. A video of her singing a pop ballad at a local karaoke night, effortlessly hitting notes that would challenge a seasoned professional, caught fire online. It was then that she discovered a new world through YouTube, the world of opera. She spent countless hours glued to her phone screen, watching grainy videos of Maria Callas and Luciano Pavarotti. She mimicked their breathing, their phrasing, their passion, teaching herself the foundations of a centuries-old art form in her small bedroom. She didn't have a coach or a conservatory. She had her natural talent, a borrowed smartphone, and an unshakable determination. When the opportunity to audition at La Scala came, it felt like a miracle. But miracles have a price. Getting to Milan was a monumental undertaking for her family. Her father worked extra shifts as a driver, her mother sold homemade delicacies, and her older siblings pooled their meager savings. They didn't just buy her a plane ticket, they packed her suitcase with their hopes, their prayers, and their unwavering belief in her. The image of her family gathered in a tight circle, praying over her before she left for the airport, was seared into her memory. This audition wasn't just for her, it was for them. It was for every young singer in the Philippines who dared to dream of a stage bigger than their local community hall. So when Maestro Rossi uttered those cruel words, he wasn't just insulting a singer. He was mocking her family's sacrifice, her community's pride, and the quiet dignity of every self-taught artist striving for a chance. He had reduced her entire existence to a stereotype, a cheap joke about karaoke. In his eyes, she wasn't an artist, She was just another girl from the Philippines who didn't know her place. Back on that stage, every instinct told Liza to run, to hide from the sea of mocking or indifferent faces. The weight of their judgment was crushing. She could feel the stares, hear the whispers. The tears were now streaming freely, tracing paths of shame on her face. Her dream was turning into a public nightmare. But then, something shifted. Through her blurred vision, she saw not the faces of the judges, but the face of her mother, her hands clasped in prayer. She heard not the laughter in the hall, but the sound of her father's voice, telling her she was his star. She felt not the cold judgment of strangers, but the warmth of her community, who believed in her when no one else did. This was more than an audition now. It was a fight. A fight for her dignity, for her family, for her country. Wiping her tears with the back of her hand, she took a deep, shuddering breath. The air filled her lungs, not with the stale scent of defeat, but with the fire of defiance. She looked directly at Maestro Rossi, her gaze unwavering. "Maestro," she said, her voice trembling but clear, "with all due respect, you are wrong." A collective gasp echoed through the hall. No one talked back to Giovanni Rossi. "My voice is not off-key," she continued, her voice gaining strength. "And my country is not a punchline. Please, allow me to finish." The audacity of her request hung in the air. The other judges looked at Rossi, waiting for his reaction. He was stunned into silence, his face a mixture of shock and fury. For a long, tense moment, no one moved. It was one of the other judges, an elegant woman from France, who broke the silence. "Let her sing, Giovanni," she said calmly. "Let's hear her out." Another judge nodded in agreement, then another. A quiet murmur of assent spread through the panel. Defeated by the unexpected mutiny, Rossi slumped back in his chair, gesturing impatiently for her to continue, his face a thundercloud of rage. Liza turned back to the accompanist, gave a small, determined nod, and closed her eyes. She took another breath, this time centering herself, pushing aside the fear and the humiliation. She wasn't singing for them anymore. She was singing for herself. When she began again, the voice that emerged was different. It was no longer just technically perfect. It was infused with all the pain, the struggle, and the fierce pride that had brought her to this stage. The notes soared, filled with a raw, breathtaking emotion that transcended technique. She poured the sting of the insult, the weight of her family's sacrifice, and the fiery spirit of her defiance into the aria. The music became her story. The hall, which had been filled with derision just moments before, fell utterly silent, captivated. The judges, who had been leaning back in their chairs, now leaned forward, their faces etched with astonishment. Even Maestro Rossi's scowl began to soften, replaced by a look of dawning disbelief. He was hearing not just a voice, but a soul that had been tested by fire and had emerged stronger, purer, and more brilliant than he could have ever imagined. As Liza sang the final, soaring high note, holding it with impossible strength and clarity, it seemed to hang in the air for an eternity, a testament to her unbreakable spirit. When the last echo faded, a profound silence held the room. It wasn't the awkward silence of before, but a silence of awe. It was a silence filled with respect. Then, one person started to clap. It was the French judge. Soon, another joined, and another, until the entire hall, including the panel of 50 judges, erupted in a thunderous standing ovation. The applause washed over Liza, a wave of validation and triumph. Through her tears, which were now tears of joy, she saw Maestro Rossi. He was on his feet, his hands clapping above his head, a look of profound respect and apology in his eyes. He had been wrong, and he knew it. In that moment, Liza Mendoza was no longer just a girl from a church choir in Cebu. She was an artist who had conquered the world's most formidable stage. She hadn't just won an audition. She had won a battle for respect, proving that talent knows no nationality, and that true strength is found in standing up for who you are. Her voice, once dismissed as a Filipino voice, had become a voice for the ages, a voice that would be remembered at La Scala for years to come. Her journey was a powerful reminder that where you come from does not define where you can go, and that sometimes the greatest melodies are born from the deepest pain. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories.